Thomas Wales, an American lawyer and an advocate for gun control. He was considered to be a truly great man, until he ended up being taken out by the one thing that he fought against. This is Night Owl. Welcome back, y'all. I'm Ted, your host. And, as I'm assuming already know, this is Night Owl. Today we're taking off to the huge city of Seattle, Washington. Having a population of around 780,995. Yeah, I'd say that qualifies as huge, all right. Bigger than the place I live at any rate. We only have a population of about 250. Seattle is the home of the world-renowned Space Needle and the Pike Place Market. It was the birthplace of grunge music. And it was also the home of the very first Starbucks. Well, Starbucks is fine, I guess. I mean, it isn't Timmy's, but it'll do. It was also the home of Thomas Wales. Born in 1952 in Boston, Massachusetts. He graduated from the boarding school Milton Academy. While there, he roomed with Joseph Patrick Kennedy II, who was the son of Robert Kennedy. That's pretty cool. Then in 1974, he graduated from Harvard. After Harvard, he went on to graduate with distinction from Hofstra University's Maurice A. Dean School of Law in 1974. While there, he was the editor-in-chief of the Hofstra Law Review, which I guess is like an academic journal of some sort. Thomas became an assistant United States attorney in Seattle, Washington, specializing in fraud cases. But Tom wasn't just a lawyer, oh no. He was also very active in civic organizations like the Seattle Planning Commission and was even a part of the Mayor's Citizens Advisory Committee. Wow! Talk about being a well-rounded person. Then, on a fateful day in 1995, a student at the very high school that Thomas's son also attended came to school with a loaded weapon. Upon his arrival, he injured a few of his classmates. Thomas realized that it could have been his son that paid such a heavy price. So, he decided to do something about it. He joined an organization called Ceasefire, which was a group that fought for gun control. In fact, he was one of the most vocal supporters of an unsuccessful 1997 attempt to make it law that gun owners had to use trigger locks. Wait a second. How was that unsuccessful? I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. But then again, what do I know? I'm just a wacky Canadian. Anyway, Thomas actually went on to become the president of Ceasefire. Then, on a brisk night on the 11th of October, 2001, there was Thomas, working on his computer in his office, which was located in the basement of his home. While, outside his home, an assailant creeped through his backyard, avoiding Thomas's motion-detecting floodlights, sneaking up to a window that leads to the basement. Then, the quiet night was shattered by a series of shots echoing through the darkness. Even though mortally wounded, Thomas was still able to call 911, but it was too late to save his life. Thomas Wales, lawyer, advocate, husband, and perhaps most importantly, father, had passed away the next day at the hospital. We're approaching the 24th anniversary of the crime, and it really doesn't feel like we are any more closer to solving the case than the night it happened. And that is in spite of the government offering a $1 million reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the crime. Now, that doesn't mean we don't know anything, because we do. Hell, we even know the type of weapon used, which would discuss more fully, but I don't think it would make the YouTube gods too happy. We even have a witness. Well, sort of anyway. You see, a witness had come forward and reported to the FBI that they saw a lone figure leaving the scene of the crime. Based on the detailed description the witness was able to give the feds, they were able to come up with this composite sketch. But this person's identity is still unknown. As for suspects, well, you gotta keep in mind, this dude's only job was to put people in jail. And not to mention he was also a leading voice for gun control in the States. So, yeah, you put those two together and you have a tendency to make a lot of enemies real fast. Like the airplane pilot, for example. The guy was 1, a gun advocate, and 2, prosecuted by Thomas for fraud. Both of those things caused the pilot to be a little bit resentful, if you know what I mean. But, upon investigating him, they were not able to find enough that actually tied him to that night, so no charges were laid. A lot of people still believe that this pilot is still a very likely suspect. The pilot did try to sue the feds for wrongful prosecution, however, but his case was dismissed. And of course, there is the case of Scott Lee Kimball, who, in 2003, was an FBI informant. He claimed that he had a cellmate in Alaska who said he ended Thomas. So, the feds coached Scott on what to say and what to ask and got him all wired up. Then, when the time came for Scott to discuss the crime with this suspect, he, well, pretty much talked about everything but Thomas. In fact, the feds started to question whether or not Scott even knew this guy at all. Of course, Scott insisted that he was telling the truth, even though the FBI ended up giving Scott a lie detector test to which, well, he failed. Surprise, surprise. Wait a second. Are y'all saying that a convicted felon would lie? Now, how can that be? Just because he was convicted of fraud, forgery, and attempted escape. Oh, let us not forget he also intentionally ended 4 lives. But lying? No. Never. Oh. Incidentally, he had kind of an interesting nickname in prison. Let's see if you can guess it. Go ahead and try. It was Joe Snitch. Oh my God. How would you like to have a nickname like that in prison? Talk about putting a target on your back. Anyway, this case might be unsolved, but it is still active, and the FBI is still working hard to solve it. In fact, in 2018, the FBI announced that they have gathered evidence that would seem to strongly suggest that it was a professional job, and that it was probably carried out by a small group of individuals. And you know what? I'm inclined to agree with it being a professional job. I mean, the dudes that he put behind bars or did battle with in the courtroom were the type of people that had the resources to actually pay a professional to do the job. But, much to their credit, the FBI do chase down every lead they get. But they could use your help. If you have any additional information that may help, then please contact the FBI tip line at 1-800-225-5324. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. Remember, the tip that you give might take an unsolved case and turn it into a solved case. Well, I think that brings us to the end of yet another video. But before we go, I want us to take an extra moment to think about Thomas. I mean, we spent this video talking about how his life was ended, but maybe we should also talk about how his life was lived. You see, he was much more than a lawyer and an advocate. He was a husband and a father. He loved the outdoors. Whereas some fathers may take his kids camping or out to a city they never visited before, he took his mountain climbing. Climbing mountains like Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens. Wow. The dude had way more energy than I do. Hell, it's all I can do to climb the stairs at night to go to bed. And yes, he may have made enemies in both his professional life and his advocacy. But for every one person that hated him, there was 3 that loved him. And he goes to show you that not all heroes wear capes. But what do you think? Do you think it was done by a professional? Or do you think it was done by some nut off the street? How about the why? Do you think it was done by someone that had a bone to pick with him because he prosecuted them? Or could it have just been a case where someone thought he needed to shut up when it came to gun control? Please, tell me what your opinion is in the comments. And as always, please, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and to share this video. It'll really help us with those pesky algorithms. And remember, be you good or be you wicked, regardless of age, race, gender, or creed, everyone deserves justice. Good night.